All right. Here we go. Ding, ding, ding. It's time for the weigh-in with Fred Slow. They're fat and tall. And Mike Parsons, you're fat too. On weighинradio.com. 86-mile killer crocodile. You bring us in.
All right, I'm going to go now.
I'm gonna edit that part out of the podcast.
Let's put that on the bloopers. Is that live? That was live.
It was on YouTube, but no one watches this shit.
Here we go now. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, good morning. Hi, hello. I, of course, am Fred Slow. Alongside me, Mike. Don't call me Parsons. Mike, how are you doing this morning, buddy?
Good, Fred. I have a riddle for you here. A question.
Riddle me not.
Off the top of your head, craziest places to come out of the closet. Go.
Off the top of my head, I would say my father's deathbed.
That's good. That's actually a good one. Although I hope your father on his deathbed would still love and accept you. I got one.
Wouldn't matter for long. Where's yours, Mike?
Yeah, I guess it's a safe bet. It's like, Dad, I always thought you might be cool with this, but just in case, I'll tell you right before you die so you can't be mad at me. Here's mine, okay? In a Yahoo Sports article, after I referee an NBA basketball game where Rajon Rondo calls me a gay slur.
You're breaking down barriers with that one. Oh, wait, You're just copycatting, Mike. It's already been done.
You know, you're going to tell me there's a Seinfeld episode where they did that, Fred? Because don't lie to me.
Stolen valor over here. Look at Mike Parsons, guys.
I'm stealing from the Kennedys. Bill Kennedy beat me to the punch.
Which has been the story of my life as far as it goes to like Marilyn Monroe. Oh, that was a different Kennedy.
Yeah, or that woman who drowned in that car with Ted Kennedy. Allegedly. I'm not a lawyer, but
Bill Kennedy is a NBA referee official. We're going to use the term referee. He might have another job title on his paycheck, but he has been an official in the NBA for, is it 18 years, Mike? 18 seasons?
I don't know, because I just heard of Bill Kennedy right now, and my question is, Fred, was this like a story, like an expose that he was planning on doing, and Rajon Rondo just happened to call him a gay slur? Or is it like when you insult somebody's mom and then they come back with "my mom's dead" and their mom's actually dead?
No, it is not that one. It is he did not. He's not telling everyone through the second most read and visited website on the internet that he is, in fact, a proud lesbian, gay, LBGT community member. Right. He's actually, I mean, and he's proud to be, and he should be, man. He should be proud to be that, and he should be proud to have the job he has and the opportunity he has. And if he loves himself, he should be prideful in all those things. And Rajon Rondo knew that he was gay and called him gay to his face.
Right. Talk about bad timing, because, you know, of course, obviously, afterwards, Rajon Rondo came out and he apologized, and he said that.
You had me confused when you said he came out.
He put out a statement. How about that?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Maybe Bill Kennedy broke the door down for other people to come out of the closet. I don't think so, though, because since Jason Collins came out, I think only this is the first person tied to the NBA who's come out of the closet. But you know, Fred, I don't know if you know this, but in many circles, I'm considered a heterosexual gay icon.
Oh,
I'm very popular with lesbians. I don't know if it's my empathetic nature. I don't know if it's my listening ear or it's my bodacious tatas, but lesbians, they love me.
And I've heard many certain, you've helped like your sister, like find a girl, like you've helped your family members.
Well, I mean, I'm not like going around playing gay matchmaker, but yeah, I have a gay sister. And when she came out to me, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I don't care.
You're like, oh, I thought that flannel was a phase.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I thought all heterosexual girls from the Midwest dressed like lumberjacks.
The thing about the basketball court, Mike, is it is a sacred place for those who play basketball, and therefore you think it is a safe place, but it absolutely is not. I play basketball a long time, and I even play recreationally now. I'm very tall. With that said, a lot of things are said on the court that remain on the court, right? They're not for everyone else. They're not for listening ears. They're conversations between individuals. And Rajon Rondo, who has grown up playing basketball all of his life and still plays basketball today, he is a guy who feels comfortably speaking that way to his peers without repercussion.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Fred. I'm like I said, I'm very pro gay marriage and all that stuff, but I think I'm willing to give Rajon Rondo the benefit of the doubt here. Because number one, I don't think that he knew that Bill Kennedy was gay.
I'm going to go on the other side of the road on that, Mike. I'm going to say he did know.
Okay, well, and if he did, well, then shame on him. But, I don't think he's a homophobe because, like you said, Fred, when you are on when you're playing professional sports and you're on the field or you're on the court, you're going to do things that aren't acceptable in polite society. I mean, look at the NFL. You're not going to just go up to some guy on the street and tackle him, but you can do it in the NFL. Same thing with trash talking in basketball. Trash talking is a huge part of the game. Every now and then somebody gets upset about what's said. I think a couple of years ago, Kevin Garnett told Charlie Villanueva of the Pistons, he has what's that alopecia where you can't grow hair. He told him he looked like a cancer patient, which, if your buddy Bob in the cubicle next to you said that to you, it would be vile and disgusting. On the basketball court, it's just part of the game.
Well, in a little bit, Mike, and we've talked about this on other episodes of The Way In, where it's that Michael Jordan effect. It's game recognizes game. Kevin Garnett does not say that about someone who's not on his level. And Charlie Villanueva, who went to Connecticut, and he was originally committed to Illinois, but that's a whole other thing why I hate his guts. He's in the NBA, and Kevin Garnett doesn't say that to the 15th man on the bench. You know what I mean? And there's a respect there about that. And I've experienced that thing. And earlier you said you were the pro gay community and pro gay rights, and I'm going to drop the mic on you real quick, Mike. I'm pro happiness. I'm pro people living the life they want to live, right? So if those guys communicating in that way, which I'm going to refer to moving forward as bro talk, these guys can have bro talk all they want within that community, and there should be no sort of repercussion whatsoever. But when that is exposed to the masses, and we all know with social justice and political correctness and white knights and all these other guys, it is not okay anymore to be caught with your figurative pants down in this situation, because you're gonna face public scrutiny.
Well, here's the thing: if Rajon Rondo knew he was gay and he still used that slur, now the NBA has to deal with it from a public relations and marketing aspect. So I think if you're Adam Silver and it's made public, you have to do something, or else people are going to get upset. Do you know exactly what Rajon Rondo said to Bill Kennedy?
I believe he called him a bleeping bleep.
I'm guessing he called him the other F word, right?
And that's exactly what it was. And we were talking last week, if you tuned into the episode, if not, check it out on the wayinradio.com. We were talking about how great of a job the UFC does with their commissioner. We're talking about Dana White and his impact with his athletes into society and how he portrays them and projects them. And this is a real test for Adam Silver, because 2 years ago, Jason Collins says, I'm a gay athlete and I am part of the NBA, kind of. I'm a fringe player. He said, but that wasn't spearheaded. Silver didn't force a team to take him. Silver, which in my opinion, he should have. He should have put Collins in a city where he would have been able to excel with acceptance. I'm thinking like a Portland. I'm thinking like
that's about it right now.
Yeah, that's about it. I'm thinking an affluent atmosphere where he could have took the court and had all the support of the entire nation, which would have been a tremendous blue ribbon for the NBA. And it's the same thing here. You have to take the situation by the horns, Silver, and you have to act accordingly. You have to punish. You have to give discipline, which there was a 1-game suspension. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. Fred, before I move on to my next point, I got to ask you though. Maybe you saw something that I didn't. What you said, you think that Rajon Rondo knew Bill Kennedy was gay and still called him a gay slur. Is that just a hunch that you're going on like I am, or are you privy to some information I'm not?
Oh, I am. The only information I have is applied experience, and I know what locker rooms are like, and I know what teams are like, and I know what leagues are like.
Okay.
And if there's a guy who has spent 18 years in the league, it is hard to keep a secret for 18 years.
That's true.
Yeah.
But, I think a lot of times people will use these inflammatory words without really knowing the implications of them. Like, when I was in high school, if I found something to be disagreeable, I'd say, "Oh, that's gay." Because it doesn't necessarily mean I'm trying to besmirch the gay community. It just became part of my vernacular. But then, you say it around the wrong person, and hopefully you guys will have a discussion. Like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should change my verbiage. But I think sometimes we can be. I think there's two types of prejudice. I think there's hateful prejudice, and I think there's ignorant prejudice. Ignorant prejudice, like Fred. Another thing I used to say, which I've stopped saying. If I had a black friend who didn't fit the stereotype, I'd say, you're one of the whitest black people I know. I was trying to be friendly, but then I say, what are you saying? What are you implying? And then they explained it to me, and you realize that a lot of these terms, even though you haven't really thought of their impact or how they affect other people, they do. And I think maybe me coming from my hunch, which it might be Pollyannic, that Rajon Rondo didn't know Bill Kennedy was gay before he said him. I think I think he would have called anyone the other F word. He's probably calls a bunch of straight guys on the basketball court the other F word, along with other things. It just turns out that Bill Kennedy, right after he said it, told Yahoo News that he was gay. Hence the crap storm. I'm sure that Rajon Rondo has called a lot of straight referees the other F word, and it's come and gone without much fanfare.
And you're talking about vernacular, and I think that's where you hit the nail on the head. Rajon Rondo is widely known as not the brightest guy on the court, right? He's throughout his whole career, and even in college, he didn't make the best decisions, and he's not the best person. So no, he's not. And this is going to sound poor for me to say, but he's not the most educated man on the floor, and he doesn't necessarily have that word bank to pull from, right? So you go with what you know, and what you know is simple insults. And I find this a lot in my I have a day job outside of radio, and at that job, I run into individuals that do this exact same thing. They fail to communicate, but they absolutely get their emotion across. They don't get their point or words, but they get their feelings. And that's what Rajon Rondo was doing. He was taking an emotion and trying to convey that when obviously in these kind of circumstances and these high dollar amounts and this pressure and all the attention, you got to be more clear-minded. His points across, unfortunately for him, he's going to have this backlash, but fortunately for the league, this conversation's coming to the forefront, and then they're going to be able to take, like we said earlier, spearhead it, because I know Silver's supporting Kennedy, and Kennedy is taking the bull by the horns. The NBA is going to play this card right, and everything's going to be just fine.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I said, I mean, Silver has kind of I wouldn't say he's got a public relations nightmare on his hands. He's got a public relations issue. Honestly, I think he handled as best he could. One game, and in a week from now, this won't even really be a conversation. You slap Rondo on the hand, but it's not big enough to make it a federal case, and you move on.
Yeah, I agree completely. The bigger story is the upset of the Golden State Warriors, who have already started a brand new winning streak.
Right. Well, you know what? Those Milwaukee Bucks, they're going to get talking to from their coach, because I guess Jason Kidd isn't aware that that pro athletes go to strip clubs.
Oh yeah, how is that news, Jason Kidd? You've been in the game longer than Kennedy. Figure it out.
Yeah. Well, maybe back when he was playing, they didn't have strip clubs.
Hey, kids are kids, right? And I can only really relate it to my day job, where for 8 hours a day, I'm on the clock. But for 18 other hours a day, I'm part of the community. And I get that you have to toe that line. But geezo, peezo, man, they let them do what they got to do. They're not getting in trouble. They're doing all right.
I remember, Fred, and I know we're late, so we're going to have to wrap this up. But I remember my 18th birthday going to a strip club. Not in the state of Michigan when I turned 18. I went to a strip club that sold no alcohol, and everyone went to the same one. And if there's anyone listening back home, they know exactly which strip club I'm talking about. But that was a rite of passage. By the time you hit 21, you start having bills to pay. Strip clubs aren't fun anymore. If you're that age and you've got more money than bills, God bless, have fun.
Hey, real quick before we go to break, in 2011, Kobe Bryant fined for the same thing, $100,000. Rajon Rondo is only going to lose about $86,000. But like we said, it's not a brand new topic, but it's now in the spotlight. Good luck to everyone involved. I think it's going to play out fine though, and also I'm pro club if you have a couple extra bucks.
It's the Weigh-In 590 KFNS and TalkSTL.com, WeighInRadio.com. We'll be right back. Cool. All right, I forgot to say 1380 there.
That's all right. We're only on there for a couple more days.
Okay, so I'll just say KFNS. Okay, cool. Let's see.
It's cool being at both ends of the dial, though. It's a cool thing. Like people are not. We're getting just so much traction, man.
Are we?
In the station as a whole, like everything's just going
good,
swimmingly, man. Just fucking swimmingly.
Excellent. Okay, that one was 15. We'll go 13 here.
You got this on the comeback?
Yeah. All right.
Hey, let me plug some ambush stuff too, real quick.
Okay. So you want to plug it here?
Yeah, I'll just plug it right out of the gate. It'll only take a second.
All right. Why don't you come back then? And then after you plug the ambush, I'll set up I got 2 baseball topics. I got a question to ask you as a Cardinals fan, and then I'm going to get into the Pete Rose thing. All right.
Do it.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
And we're back to the Weigh-In. I, of course, still am Fred Slow alongside me, Mike Parsons. Mike, you know that I also broadcast for the St. Louis Ambush, the MASL franchise here in St. Louis. That's the Major Arena Soccer League.
And it looks like they've made a couple of acquisitions this week.
Big moves for the team. It's been a rough start for the Ambush, 0-6 to begin the year, and that is not great. You can't do worse, really. So it's only up for here, but new guidance, new head coach. Tony Glavin's coming in. He's a St. Louis legend. He's going to do a real great job. Jamie Swanner's coming in. I've worked with Jamie Swanner in some soccer camps and some stuff. He's a real smart soccer mind. I'm just excited for the team. I feel a fresh rejuvenation of life and breath, and I want people to hear me tell jokes for 2 straight hours, because unlike this where I have to follow your lead, I have free reign there to be as funny as I want. So you tune in and you listen to the Ambush on 590 KFNS and check the games. They're at game time. So if they played 7:35, we're on at 7:35. And also go livesportscast.com where you can see that. Anyway, a lot of fun. I think I'm super proud of. Our production is great. My Joe De Niro is great. I have a lot of fun. I just want to make sure the Weigh-In listener knows Ambush Soccer, 590 KFNS, whole new leadership, whole new brand. And I'm going to tell you all about it, I don't know, once a week or so.
Hey, Fred, I think you need to get me a meeting with the higher-ups over there at the Ambush.
Yeah.
Because I feel with the St. Louis Rams jetting off to L.A., I feel like there's some opportunities here. Honestly, I think all Rams fans right now, there's no reason to watch the Rams anymore, okay? They're not going to make the playoffs. They're trying to move to L.A. Everybody jump ship over to the Ambush. And I want to see attendance grow game after game until they have to move into the Jones Dome.
Well, in the Rams, who, by the way, I've only commended in any show I've done locally that they're still doing their charitable projects. They're still in the community, and they're still giving and helping, and I love that about the Rams. But
you're more forgiving than me.
Yeah. For instance, they had the Thursday night color game the other day, and when we talked about it a couple weeks ago, they had the 2015 nominees for the Hall of Fame. Anyways, all those guys were down at the Dome. They were having like a halftime thing, and they were showing a video. Anyways, they didn't announce it to the public till Wednesday, the day before. What are you doing? Are you trying to build hype for the team? Because if you're doing it, marketing department, figure it out. You don't tell people 12 hours before the game freaking starts. 48 hours before the game freaking starts, that hey, we got this really cool thing with all the players that you grew up loving, but we're just going to keep it a secret till the very end. That's terrible. It's like sabotage, man. They're not trying to get anyone in there.
They're probably just phoning it in. They're probably just phoning it in until they can go to the West Coast.
I just hate it. So that game on Thursday is possibly the last professional football game that could be played in St. Louis in my lifetime.
I'm very sorry, Fred.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's better than the Jacksonville Jaguars being moved here.
Well, push at this point.
But if they came, Fred, I would welcome them with open arms because at least they want you, city of St. Louis.
Hey, 20 years ago, 95, the Edward Jones Dome was why a team moved to St. Louis, because it was state of the art, and it was. But now, okay.
There could be another state of the art dome. The state of Missouri. Anyway, we've gone through this already, Fred. I'm just going to get angry. You know who's not going anywhere anytime soon is the Cardinals, with or without Jason Hayward. And Fred, you are a longtime Cardinals fan, and I've got to ask you from the outside looking in. I've got a question. Are you mad that you lost Jason Hayward? Or are you mad that you lost Jason Hayward to the Cubs?
I'm not mad about either of these things. The thing I don't love about the Hayward deal, Hayward came over, obviously, last season. We had a terrible tragedy in the offseason. Oscar Taveras passes. We've actually experienced that kind of a lot with the Cardinals organization, and it is terrible. But John Mozeliak kind of makes kind of a brash move. He makes a quick move. He moves Shelby Miller for Hayward, and you only really make that move if you have confidence that you're going to be able to re-sign a guy, right? So that's the part where you're upset about. Where you lose a talent like Shelby Miller, who was just traded for 3 of the top prospects in baseball from Atlanta to the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks are getting killed for that trade with some of the talent they gave up. So I'm a little upset right there. I'm a little upset that we didn't have the final return, and it's a slap in the face. Mike Matheny gave up number 22 so that Hayward could wear it in the outfield. That's Mike Matheny's number. Hayward, you thief.
See, and I did not know that, because from the outside looking in, I'm glad you explained that to me, because I'm looking and I'm like, okay, I'm Jason Hayward. He's a decent right fielder, right? I look at his numbers. I mean, he's in the lower part of the top 10 in all the major offensive categories. He's won a Gold Glove, but not in a couple of seasons.
He won this year.
Oh, it was this year.
Well, he's won several.
I could have sworn he lost. I'll take your word for it.
I'll get the number for you. Go ahead.
Okay. I thought maybe it was his wins above replacement. That's a sabermetrics thing, and that's probably why Theo Epstein signed him, because Jason Hayward, and if you want another reason to feel snubbed, he signed for less money with the Cubs because Theo Epstein, he's like a wizard, right? He goes to Boston, he breaks the curse of the Bambino. He goes to Chicago, and what's a goat? It's a curse of a goat. Like back in the 19-something, a goat wasn't allowed into Wrigley, and that goat put a curse. And it looked like he might do it this year. And what's that?
Whatever helps you sleep at night, Chicago. That's not the reason. And 3 Gold Gloves for Jason Hayward, 2012, 14, and 15.
Okay, so I was wrong. Not the first time. Let me tell you about the Cubs, though, Fred. Okay. The Cubs, the curse of the goat, the whole Bartman thing. When Bartman quote unquote lost the Cubs that series against the Marlins and their chance to go to the World Series, that wasn't Steve Bartman's fault. That was Moises Alou's fault.
Because he drew the attention.
Right. Here's the thing. Okay, I grew up in Detroit, and for the longest time the Tigers were bad. Lions are up and down. When a team goes that long without success, there's a culture. There's a culture where you expect if something's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong. And I think that night in that series, it was 2002, 2003, something like that. 2003. I think Cubs fans were already on edge waiting for something to go wrong. The Bartman play happens. It's a foul ball. A foul ball. It's not like it's a home run that Bartman reached over, which could have been a double. It's a foul ball. It's a strike. Moises Alou throws such a hissy fit that it just sets off a tinderbox of loser mentality all over Wrigley. Then Castillo starts booting routine plays, and the Cubs, lo and behold, they lose the series. And the Marlins, I believe, went on to win the World Series that year.
They lost the series the next night. They didn't even losing that game.
Right. They weren't even facing elimination.
No, it's if you think Jason Hayward is the solution for the Cubs, maybe. I mean, they got a lot of talent. They got a lot of talent under 25, which is a big deal in baseball. Because even if with some of the numbers on some of these guys, because they're bringing in guys left and right. With him, the oldest guy is who's the utility guy they just signed that played for Tampa Bay all those years? Anyway, so they have a lot of dudes who are young. So if it doesn't work, you can trade those young dudes for prospects and start over. So they got full ammunition. They're doing well. The Cardinals, on the other hand, win all the time. We go to the NLCS every other year.
And the funny thing is, Fred, nobody's ever talking about them at the beginning of the season. But lo and behold, every October, hey, Cardinals, good to see you in the World Series again.
Well, and the thing about it is it's the approach, right? It's we use the same approach all the time. We're not going to overpay for a guy. Well, analytics, right? All that Bill James stuff. We can go right now and get Manny Parra and put Manny Parra in the outfield, get enough outfielders to pull the tune because no one trusts Matt Holliday. Matt Holliday's going to get hurt. We can bring in, we just traded John Jay for Gurko from San Diego. He can play middle infield. We have a lot of guys that we can move around. Beef up the pitching staff, and guess what? We'll be where we are every single October, and that's on primetime television, listening to TBS's terrible announcers tell us how the up-and-coming Diamondbacks are going to be the team to beat in the playoffs, and they're not. Because with
the Frank Caliendo scrawl across the bottom.
Gosh, hey, I have do you remember like in the early 2000s, like what would Jesus do bracelets?
Yeah,
I have what would John Mozeliak do? That's who I trust.
Well, and all you need to know about the Cardinals organization is think back to when they got rid of Albert Pujols, the biggest star in the game. Everyone thought they were nuts. He got dealt to the Angels, and hey, look, his numbers are declining. But going back to Jason Hayward, Jason Hayward, he's not the answer for the Cubs. Theo Epstein is, and the roundabout point I was getting to is that Theo Epstein, he changed that something bad is going to happen, Murphy's Law mentality in Boston, and now he's moving on to Chicago with the Cubs. And can you imagine the legendary status that you'd reach if you win a World Series with both Boston and Chicago, both of these quote unquote cursed teams?
Yeah, I mean, if you're the guy
in the 1800s, you would have been burnt for witchcraft.
If you're the guy who fixes the Buckner play and you're the guy who fixes the Billy Goat Gruff, then yeah, you're doing something that obviously has never been done before because you haven't had two teams. What were the Red Sox were at like 100 years or close to it, and Chicago's well over 100 years now. Yeah. I went to Wrigley Field last season, and there were ushers and where we were sitting that were in their 80s, Mike. They're ushers in their 80s, and they'd never seen the Cubs win a World Series.
And every year they show up. This is it. This is the year.
It's a terrible.
Kerry Woods is going to win a Cy Young. Oh, there goes his arm.
His arm fell right off. And Ben Zobrist, it came to me. Ben Zobrist was the infielder. So he's like the only guy over 30 on the whole roster. They have a good roster. I think Joe Madden really connects with those kids because just like he did in Tampa Bay, he knows how to take young kids who are hungry and got a chip on their shoulder and put them in situations where they can succeed. They have a good team, and I'm not worried about them until the Cardinals do something the Cardinals don't normally do. So if the Cardinals go out and, I don't know, man, spend $1 billion on a pitcher who blows out a shoulder, then I'll be disappointed. But I don't think they'll do that. The Cardinals will stay the course. They'll be fine. It's the approach to baseball that I appreciate, which is level-headed.
We had to take a quick break. It's the Weigh-In 590 KFNS, TalkSTL.com, and WeighInRadio.com. There we go. Yeah, that Jason Hayward thing probably tipped off that I wasn't from St. Louis.
No, that's all right.
It's all right. Like I said, I kind of talk around it. I make vague reference to Detroit in either it's something that can be interpreted as past or present tense.
So okay. So where are you going with this Belding thing?
I'm going to save that. Well, I guess he got his degree.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Hold on, Belding degree. I do want to talk about the Hall of Fame, though.
Well, we can do that. I'm ready for that.
Okay, we'll do the non-sports segment last. Because I got to say, Baseball Hall of Fame gets on my nerves. All right. And you may disagree with me here. Okay. Here
a couple Hall of Fame voters, so this will be good.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. I'll bring it back. All right. So Pete Rose, Fred, is 0 for 2. Earlier this week, he met with.
He'll bounce back, Mike. He's got 5,000 more bats. He'll bounce back.
That's right. Well, maybe. I think he will make the Hall of Fame. Just none of us will be alive to see it. He appealed his lifelong ban from baseball to Commissioner Rob Manfred. No relation to you.
I don't know if the listener knows that. So.
Yeah. And Manfred said no. Which it seemed like at first Rob Manfred was open to it, and then it came out that Pete Rose lied again about betting on baseball. So I'm very conflicted on this. Now we talk about it all the time, Fred, how, if a player in the NFL gets suspended for smoking weed for a year, it's a bit of a harsh punishment, but the rule. You sign a contract that says you can, if you want to continue your employment with this entity, you can't do this. So, although, I don't think betting on baseball now is the worst thing in the world. I don't think lighting up a doobie is the worst thing in the world. You still sign a contract that says you can't do it. Yeah, you're coming to terms saying, okay, I agree that I won't do this, or else these are the consequences. But on the other hand, this Hall of Fame business, and the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame, has a rule that anyone banned from baseball can't get into the Hall of Fame. And they also have this character clause, which, I just recently found out about. That's also keeping guys like Pete Rose out, Barry Bonds out, probably going to keep Roger Clemens out. And what's that?
Rafael Palmeiro.
Yeah, Rafael Palmeiro is different, at least in my opinion, because Rafael Palmeiro, before he doubled his size, he was a borderline Hall of Fame guy, but before Roger Clemens or Barry Bonds or Mark McGwire doubled their size, they were already putting up Hall of Fame numbers. And of course, the voters are getting all sanctimonious now about performance-enhancing drugs, saying that they'll never put a cheater in the Hall of Fame, if it turns out that they're using performance-enhancing drugs. And my question here, Fred, is, okay, I can understand that if you're a newer writer, but if you were a baseball writer around in the 80s, in the 90s, where allegedly everybody was shooting up performance-enhancing drugs, then you either look the other way because it was good for baseball and you're a hypocrite, or you didn't know and you're an incompetent journalist. So which one is it?
Well, it's obviously incompetent journalists. The Baseball Writers Association of America, and I know a couple voters, and the guys I do know are pretty good guys. And I think the requirements are, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have to write for a pro team for 10 seasons, and you have to do it in a publication that, and they may have just changed the rules to allow blogs and some websites, but a written publication for you have to be the beat writer, and that's it. Those are the requirements. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know it, but I mean, if you're covering a team for 10 years, and all of a sudden, the fact that players were using performance-enhancing drugs for a couple of decades, I mean, were these players so good at hiding this that you had no clue? That's why it kind of bothers me when I hear people with Hall of Fame votes, and I know I'll never get one, especially if they hear this segment. people with Hall of Fame votes being so indignant and sanctimonious about guys not getting in who are using performance-enhancing drugs. Because I'm sure you remember, Fred, after that strike in the mid-'90s, baseball was kind of in the crapper. People were upset at baseball players because they thought they were spoiled millionaires and everything, and baseball attendance and ratings were down until in walks in Mark McGwire, in walks Sammy Sosa.
Right, that summer of '98. That was the biggest year in my baseball life, was 1998. I would not be in love with the sport today if I wasn't able to tune into those guys every single night, cracking dingers.
Right, exactly. And my theory is that, yes, there was some talk about creatine, about a supplement, but that began the long ball era, and lo and behold, now people are watching baseball. Now writers are in demand. Now baseball's a thing, and I really think a lot of people look the other way because it was good for the sport, and now that these players are up for a Hall of Fame vote, they're being thrown under the bus.
Well, and local columnists and beat writer, they're not going to say a word. If the team's doing well and your sport's doing well, then your readers are up. Your readers are up. Then your newspaper sells better. Your newspaper sells better. You got more ad revenue. You get paid better. It's a vicious cycle, right? But baseball is smart, right? Mark McGwire is smart. So Mark McGwire, let's say it's a night game, right? 7:05 game. He would get at the ballpark at 2:00. 2:00, he would stretch, he would eat, he would do his thing. By 5:00, he's out there, and for batting practice, he's cracking 10s to close to 100 dingers every single day. He's hitting 50 balls out of the park. You know what that does to your body? That beats you up, right?
Yeah, right.
So as your body's getting beat up, he then plays in games. And in those games, he's taking the best pitching in the world, and he's cracking dingers. And then after the game, you know what he's doing? He's sitting in front of his locker room, and he's sitting in front of his locker, and as he's talking to reporters, you know what he's got right behind him on the shelf? Bottle of Adderall. You know what? I'm not taking steroids. Use that bottle of Adderall right there. Hey, I'm focused. I'm focused.
I know.
But steroids? Are you kidding me? No, your bodies don't work like that, Mark. You can't do what you do every single day for 162 games a year. So you're going to tell he legitimately probably hit 2,200 home runs or something, like a nuts number, man.
Right. He was legit. Yeah, he was legit like probably a 30 to 40 home run guy, right? And then once he started taking the creatine, once he started taking daddy's cough medicine,
there's a big, and first, hey, super talented, hand to eye, bat speed, all those things you look for when you're looking for that 5-tool guy. And when he came up in '89 and he was a rookie and he hit 49 with the A's and
Bash Brothers.
Yeah, he made that with Jose,
ironically, the whistleblower.
Look at, and we laughed at him years ago, didn't we, when he came out with that book? And turns out he's never told a lie in his whole life, and that's where Pete Rose gets caught up. That's why Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame. Not only did Pete Rose not only did he break the rules and lie on baseball, or bet on baseball, but then he won't own it. And we live in a culture today, society will let you be extremely flawed. Society will let you have problems as long as you own those problems. If you meet those things head on, Robert Downey Jr., you can then go and become the biggest movie star in the whole freaking world because we will embrace you. And that's what Pete Rose isn't doing. He's allegedly still betting on baseball. He allegedly had bet on his own team, and they have reports to prove it, but he won't just own that moment and say to baseball, yeah, man, I done screwed up. I screwed up bad. But here's what he's defiant, and he's aggressive, and he is not mature enough to own it. And if he did, it'd be a different story. He would be in his lifetime, and that's not going to happen. His kids are not going to see him go in. He should have a whole wing. He's number one in every single category. At-bats, games played, hits, average. He's up there in all of them. But he won't make it, man, because he's not an adult enough to say that he was a cheater and to admit that he's a liar.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And like I said, when Rob Manfred first took over, he seemed open to it because it seemed like Pete Rose was doing exactly what you said he wasn't doing. It seemed like he was owning up to it. It seemed like he was taking accountability for it. And then it turns out that he was still gambling on the game. Here's my problem, though, okay? And I forgot where I heard Buster Olney talking about this, but he is a champion of trying to get rid of the character clause in the Hall of Fame. And I think you're going to have to eventually, especially with all the coverage that athletes get now. Once you start digging into pro athletes' personal lives, you're going to start to find out that there's not a whole lot of guys who belong in the Hall of Fame under a character clause. And like I said, whether it's Pete Rose betting on baseball, whether it's not Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, or Roger Clemens with performance-enhancing drugs, you're going to have the best hitters and the best pitchers to ever play not in the Hall. And there's a radio guy in Detroit who calls it the Hall of Very Good. And that's what you risk that's what you risk once you start passing moral judgments as a criteria for getting into the Hall of Fame.
Let's go real big picture real quick. We were talking about Jose Canseco kind of blowing the whistle on the steroid thing, right? And then that opens up, Jose's never going to get in. He's going to get that character thing, and he's going to get – and isn't it the exact same thing with, like, Joe Dion, who used to play for the St. Louis Browns in the 1920s, and he was like, hey, I know all about the Black Sox. Not only do I know all about the Black Sox, I know what's happening, so I'm going to bet on them. But after I bet on them, I'm going to snitch. And then when he snitches, everyone's like, no, dude, you know what you're saying is not. Turns out it's all true, and then he ends up getting caught up. He's banned from the Hall of Fame too. So
right, well, because what they can say is now, everyone in their respective sport is kind of pissed at him for blowing the whistle, and plus they could say, hey, guess what? I know that you brought this all to light, but you were also doing what you told on everyone else for doing, so you can't get it either.
I'm not a champion for Pete Rose getting in the Hall of Fame because Pete Rose is not a champion for himself. I know that's kind of a reach, but that's how I feel. The one outrage I see in baseball, the one that I just absolutely hate when it comes to the Hall of Fame, is Buck Weaver, who was on that Black Sox team who didn't take the money. Buck Weaver needs to be in the Hall of Fame. He has Hall of Fame numbers. He won championships. He was a heck of a player. I'll go next. I'll spend hours talking about that and I've kind of looked into the Black Sox scandal a lot because I'm kind of a nerd. But you put Buck Weaver in before you put Pete Rose in, and I will be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't know a whole lot about the Black Sox because that would require me reading a book, and we know that's not going to happen. But with your Pete Rose opinion, I think you're actually in the minority, right? I'm sorry, the majority. I think that most people agree with your opinion. Me personally, I think you have to put him in because he's the all-time hits leader in the game, and what he was busted for wasn't performance enhancing. Now, I agree that at the time they should have banned him from baseball. Then your career's over because now that we found out that you bet on baseball, we can't trust you to play the game up to its higher standards, yada, yada, yada. But a guy trying to sabotage his own team because he bet against them isn't going to rack up the most hits of all time in the game of baseball. And that's where I think Pete Rose should be in.
You want to put him in? You want to put him on a plaque? Fine, man. Let's put the biggest asterisk you've ever seen underneath that plaque, though. Let's make sure there's no sort of confusion. You want to create a special,
or maybe like a roulette ball underneath.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would work.
A roulette wheel.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. Hey, kids, you damn kids, and your roulette ball and your hippity hop.
They get a Class B liquor license, and then you just get like some slot machines in there, and you put his plaque right above the slot. But hey, if you have a like a categorical wing, and I've never been to Cooperstown, I should go. It's something I'd probably enjoy, but put that in, man. If you want to put in the Hall of Hits and you want to put some of his numbers in there, hey, cool. I don't mind that, but out of principle, I do not give him the plaque. He does not get it.
Okay, we'll agree to disagree on this, Fred. Like I said, I think eventually he will be in the Hall of Fame, but we may not be alive to see it. We got to take a quick break. It's the Weigh-In 590 KFNS Talk, STL.com, and WeighInRadio.com. Sorry if I'm meandering and not very linear. A little off tonight, I feel.
No, you're good. I have solid points on everything. I don't know if that's true.
It's all right. All right, let's see here. All right, let's see. All right, yeah, I got Belding. Oh, actually, I have something to. I want to poke. I want to poke a little fun at the. You probably didn't watch the debate, right?
I actually bullshit, man. I fell asleep. I fell asleep at like 6 o'clock. Missed the whole thing.
I am just going to touch on something real quick. I'm not even going to get into a discussion.
Okay.
And then I'll move on to something else.
Yep.
Okay. Ready? Am I bringing it in?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay. And we'll go 11 minutes because I think we went long on 2 segments. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And he is Fred Slow at Too Heavy 2 Skydive on Twitter. That's the number 2 heavy, number 2 Skydive. I'm Mike Parsons at Other Mike P. TalkSTL.com, 590 KFNS, WeighInRadio.com. And Fred, doing this show for me is like a breath of fresh air. The other show I do, we get political. And one of my favorite things about this show is we don't get political, and it's just fun. But I'm going to break that rule for just a second. I don't know if you watched the debate. What was it? Wednesday night? Tuesday night?
No, I did. I did not. I was going to, but I, like most Americans, just fell asleep.
If you are running for president of the United States, the highest office in the land, the most powerful man in the Western Hemisphere,
the whole world, really,
pop a lozenge before you go up there. My God, every 5 seconds someone's talking and all you hear is someone off mic go, and I'm just imagining the people in the CNN booth just dying because it's like nails on a chalkboard. And there was a thorough investigation, probably more thorough of an investigation than anything having to do with the government, since it turns out that it was Ben Carson, the doctor, who was coughing during the debate. And look, I'm not telling you who to vote, but I am telling you that if you're in front of a microphone on national TV and you have to cough, just turn away from the microphone. It almost became like I started laughing every time I heard it because it seems so cable access to me. And it was no fault of CNN's. They have to have everyone's mic on, because if they turned Ben Carson's mic off because Ben Carson was coughing, they'd be accused of slanting away from Carson.
Do you remember in 2010 when the World Cup was in South Africa?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay, and do you remember Vuvuzelas?
Yeah. Those were the worst.
Oh, this sounds like the exact. I had to turn off World Cup games because I couldn't handle.
I'm so
that noise.
I'm so glad that fad died faster than bit strips.
It did not die. It is alive and well in South Africa, and if you are soccer there, then you will hear it still. But do not go back there, World Cup. Do not do it.
And I used to be such a fan of South African soccer too. It's really a shame.
You and Oscar Pistorius, yeah.
Hey man, free Oscar. I think he's been freed.
Hey, what's going on here? I think he's at home. I think they sent him home.
Who, Belding or Pistorius?
No, Pistorius. He killed a gal. They just sent him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he thought for some reason the person in his bathroom late at night was an attacker, so he just started shooting at the bathroom door without asking any questions.
We could do a whole episode on this thing, like, because it's old hat, obviously, but there's kind of a lot of racism going on there in South Africa. This doesn't make any sense to me.
We could rip off NPR Serial and do like a whole season on it if we wanted to.
For the first time since last weekend, I'm really happy I don't listen to NPR.
Yeah, good. There's only a few things I listen to. I think sometimes people listen to NPR for the same reason people claim they like British comedy, just to seem like cultured, just to seem like they get something that us boreheadish Americans don't.
If somebody walks up to me and tells me how freaking funny Paula Poundstone is, I call them a liar. I call them a liar right to their face.
Those are the same people who will tell you that the British British version of The Office is better than Steve Carell.
Oh, no. Peter Sagal is good. I'll say he's good. I'm not going to say he is the best. I can listen to other shows. And also stop blowing your e-cigarette in my face.
I wonder if Richard Belding, Dennis Haskins, listens to NPR. I guess this was big news. Screech got arrested earlier this week for getting into a fight with a guy at a bar. And then Belding.
Screech.
What's that? Classic
Screech.
God, he is the worst, isn't it? Isn't he just like the worst as a human being? That's what it sounds like.
But while you're doing this,
but Belding, yeah, please do, so we can keep track of all of Dustin Diamond's run-ins with the law.
And we'll do like we always do when there's something we feel passionate about. We'll make a drinking game.
That's right. It's the only thing we can do. I guess Belding went back to college and got his degree, which means all those years teaching at Bayside were fraudulent, right? Shouldn't you have to like revoke Kapowski and Zach Morris's diplomas? Because I don't know what the requirements are in California, but everywhere else you have to have some kind of a degree to be a high school principal.
Well, this does explain why Dustin Diamond struggled so bad in the college years.
That's true. He didn't have proper guidance.
I can just not find his arrest record anywhere. But 100 times he's probably been arrested. I have a Belding story. Do we have time? I have a Belding story.
We're gonna make time.
With this kid I grew up with, his name's Greg, and we were very good friends when we were kids, and like all things, you just grow apart a little bit. But he was just a huge Saved by the Bell mark, and he would just TGIF was his time, right? So anyways, he's in his early 20s, and you were talking about, what you do for fun in your early 20s. Well, what Greg did was he traveled from, here in St. Louis, he traveled to Indianapolis, right? He goes over to Indianapolis for a Saved by the Bell convention.
Oh, my gosh.
So you get there and there's like some of the actors and then, some of the one-off characters. But what it is, it's a lot of fans, right? It's a lot of people preparing to meet characters. So he's there and he's in line and he's got a 8x12 or 8x10 or whatever color glossy photo of Mr. Belding. He has it. So that is great. So he's in line for the Belding thing, and I don't know, it's a minimal amount. It's $5 or $20 for the autograph or whatever.
No one's lining up to meet Belding.
No, well, I wasn't there. I don't know for certain.
Yeah.
So, but
I feel safe guessing that.
If there's as far as the hierarchy of Saved by the Bell, Dennis Haskins not necessarily at the top, but he's on the list.
Yeah, he's just above Ox, the dumb jock.
Anyone from Valley. He's above anyone from Valley, and then up.
Screw Valley.
So Greg's at this, and this is how he tells the story to me. So Greg waits in line for some time to see Mr. Belding, and he goes up there to get the autograph. And he hands him the color glossy 8x10 photo with the Mr. Belding on the front. And he's like, hey, my name's Greg. It's nice to meet you or whatever. So Mr. Belding signs it. Dennis Haskins, thanks for being a fan, and gives it back to him. And Greg takes it and he goes, no, you're going to sign it, Mr. Belding.
Whoa. Dang, Greg, laying down the law.
So Greg is in an uproar because he doesn't give no care at all about Dennis Haskins.
He's about to fight Belding.
Belding is the real deal to him. So anyways, I heard there was commotion. I heard he was like holding up the line, but I guess one of Belding's handlers brought him another photo and he signs it Mr. Belding, but it doesn't have like a little note on it. It just says Mr. Belding.
Yeah.
So he takes
right. So that could have been to anybody. Yeah, right, Greg. You didn't meet Belding. This doesn't even have your name on it. This could be to anybody.
The thing is autographed, and I know it's framed, and I think it's in his home still. And he's like married, and he's like an adult now, but he has an affection for that show. He just loved it. Man, he's a weird dude.
Do you think Belding got up in like a defensive position, ready to defend himself in case your friend Greg got out of control?
And there's no way that's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to Belding. There's no way at all.
No. No, I bet you if Belding wrote a book, he could probably be brought up on charges in multiple countries and multiple states.
He has been in situations where he has used the belt. I'm going to call it the Belding persona to his benefit many times.
Do you think being Belding ever got him laid? Like how that show's been off the air for almost 20 years. So chicks, who grew up watching him are our age and older or maybe younger. Do you think he's ever been out somewhere and some chick with some kind of daddy issues goes up to him and be like, I watch you all the time, and then he takes her home?
Yeah. You're going to ask me if I think Belding's ever used being Belding to get laid? Is the sky blue, Parsons? Of course he has.
What's like Weird Al? That's another guy. He's famous, but does being Weird Al get Weird Al laid?
First of all, I wish every single listener and every single person on earth a long and prosperous life. I want people to live forever, and I want them to reach all of their goals, and I want them to realize their potential. But I cannot wait for the day that Weird Al dies, and at his wake, all the songs that he parodied, their actual artists come and then sing the parody versions of their songs at his funeral to celebrate his life. I'll subscribe to it. They can put it on pay-per-view. I'll pay for it. I want it in HD, and I want it in my living room, celebrating Weird Al and his parody-ness.
Well, and it would have to be his later work because everyone he parodied early in his career probably will die before him. That's just my guess.
Well, whatever. Hey, Miley can cover anyone. I don't care. I want it to be a scene. I want it to be a festival of emotion.
Well, you know what? I hope when Weird Al kicks the bucket that his family reaches out to you to plan the funeral. I think it's only right. We got to go, Fred. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. Catch up 24/7 on demand, weighinradio.com. You're listening to 590 KFNS, talkstl.com. Bye. All right. Good job, everybody.
I just wish death on Weird Al Yankovic.